Welcome everybody to What's Up Bolts. I'm Fernando Ramirez. He's not at Moe's tonight. Don't know really where he's at, but
Unfortunately,
that
undisclosed
that
location, Frau.
that man is Dan and Daygo. Dan, Ravens edge out the Chargers 20-17. They fall to 4-7 on the season. Before we even get into the game, I just got to get your initial thoughts on tonight.
I think my initial thoughts, I think it's the same as everyone's. You know what I'm saying? Where are they going from here? Because I think, like we've talked about on regular COMPAS, I don't think 10 wins might be enough to make the playoffs, especially like we've talked about. They have a hard schedule remaining. Next week they play New England, who hasn't been playing well, but I mean, I don't know really who this team can beat right now. So, just initial thoughts, I'm sure like everybody. I think one of my initial thoughts for sure, I was talking about this with a certain someone as we were leaving a certain location for now. I think Kellen Moore deserves a little bit of blame for what's going on right now because in my mind, I don't understand how you're not self-scouting and understanding. Like I literally called it as they were getting up, lined up for that fourth down play. I told who I was with, watch, here comes pressure. And lo and behold, they had pressure. Herbert didn't have enough time to set up and throw. And it's like, I don't understand how this is like 2 or 3 games in a row where they do this in clutch situations and they're not self-scouting that. And it's not like, hey, let's get quick. Let's get in something quick that we can just get the ball out. You know what I'm saying? Or something. So, of course, it's frustrating. Everybody's frustrated, I'm sure. But that's basically what I got right now without any profanities. What are you thinking, Brown?
Well, it's not just this game, Dan. Like you mentioned, I mean, it's been the Miami game,
Yep.
the Tennessee game. Like a lot of these games, I think they're noticing that the offensive line. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be fair about it. They've regressed. They're not the same
Yeah.
offensive line that they've been. Without Corey Linsley, this has not looked good, and because of that, I think now the offense is taking a hit, and they're taking a hit late in games where you think, okay, 2-minute offense, here we go. Because we've seen the Chargers run a good 2-minute offense before. We've seen them be able to move the football. We've seen them being able to do different things. And for some reason tonight, or not tonight, but like just when it comes down to the last plays of the game, the defenses are the ones that make the plays, and the Chargers offense just couldn't make it. And I know everybody's initial thought is to blame Justin Herbert. The offensive line has been struggling,
that's a joke. Yeah.
and they ran cover zero on that last play, and they just completely they knew what to do, and that's kind of the thing. And I think the Baltimore Ravens at one point knew, okay, if we take away Keenan, like who else can? I mean,
it's like we've been talking about that. We've literally mentioned that several times on the show. That right now it's the Keenan Allen and Herbert show on offense, and on top of that, the people who want to blame Herbert, you know what I'm saying? Like Herbert can't pass pro correctly. Like he can't throw the ball and set his pass pro and all that and blocks the defense. Jadeveon Clowney, that killer red zone turnover. Like I don't understand where the thing is. The only thing I wish, and I think you're starting to notice it, that's why he's starting to run more. The internal clock's going off a little too fast now because now he's starting not seeing ghosts, I would say, but he's starting to feel that. And that's why he's starting to run fast. That's why he's rushing throws. And that's exactly what's going to happen when you have a good defense and you're well coached. So they need to figure something out offensively to really combat that because clearly what they're doing right now is not working because he's taking some brutal hits.
I don't know what to make of this, but the defense, I thought they gave up a lot of yards. Yeah, they gave up a lot of yards, but they didn't give up touchdowns. I mean, the only thing at the end, I mean, they had held on for dear life the whole game. And at the end, it was too much. They just, I mean, you give them the ball back. You gave them the ball back with
it was around midfield, 4th and like 17 or something like that. I think it was like a minute left, minute 57 or something.
Yeah, it was third. No, you gave them the ball back on the 46-yard on their 46-yard line, and they took it at the 44. And but I mean, let's go through it. I mean, at the beginning of the game, you score a field goal, and
And mind
it,
you, a
it
killer
just
penalty that killed the drive. Killer penalty.
yeah. Yeah. By the way, Keenan Allen said on that Justin Herbert plays like it was bullshit, like
Yeah,
on the
we
hit
all
out
know
of
that. We
bounds
all know that. Yeah.
and but
You got to keep your cool at that point, dude.
exactly, but it just if you really look at what's going on right now, I mean, you get them to punt and then they go on a 12 play 78-yard drive, and you notice obviously they're going to OBJ. They're like Lamar
Yeah.
was really spreading the football around on that drive. You go to Lamar, you go to Likely, who's obviously in place of
Yeah,
Andrews,
he was
Mark Andrews.
smoking them. Yeah, he was smoking them.
Yeah, and he goes to Bateman a couple of times, but then OBJ kind of left the game, and their offense kind of slowed down a bit. Like here on, by the way, Dan, I was so surprised by John Harbaugh's fourth down plays. I guess at
Yeah, I
times,
didn't. I didn't
like
believe it either.
the
Yeah.
decisions on with 4:18 left on they were on the Chargers 27. It's 4th and 1. He decides to do a wildcat when Lamar Jackson that whole drive leading up to that. I mean, Lamar had short pass. No, not that one. He had ran for 8 yards. He had thrown a pass to Likely. He had thrown another pass to Likely, and then Bateman. He scrambled for 7 yards. So literally, he had scrambled for 17 yards on that drive. And on this play, you decide to do a direct snap. I mean, the Chargers
Oh,
sniffed it
I
out.
totally agree.
But,
Yeah.
but Dan, you know what the killer was? The fumbling. The
Yeah.
fumbling
Again.
before the
Yeah.
half. The fumbling before the half. The Chargers had the ball with 4:13 after that. They stopped them. And you give the ball back to the Ravens after a short pass to Keenan Allen. Keenan fumbles, Urban recovers. They kick a field goal. They're up 10-3. Then the Chargers start kind of moving the football with 112 left. He passes to Keenan. Then on the next play, he goes to Keenan for 14 yards. And you're like, okay, he's starting to move it. They pass it to Eckler. Eckler for the second week in a row fumbles. And obviously they weren't able to convert. But then the Ravens decided to go for it on fourth down, 4th and 14. I was surprised. I
Yeah.
honestly
But
thought on that
right
play,
before halftime. Yeah.
Lamar was gonna hold the football, and then maybe at the end throw a hail mary. But no, he decides to
Yeah.
throw it. The Chargers get one play. Obviously, it was an interception. But then in the second half, you come in, they kick a field goal on 9 plays. The defense stops them. They
Yeah.
stop them on a 4th and 11. By the way, Khalil Mack, another big game, 2 sacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has 13 on the year, but you're just seeing some of this stuff and punt. Then like you said, Jadeveon Clowney knocks Herbert down. He makes him fumble, um, and it was just one of those. It was just man, that was a 19 play, 61 yard drive that got the ball to the Baltimore 16 with 3rd and 14. And you couldn't at least get three. If you would get three, it'd be 13-3. Then if you then you made them punt, then you came down and scored a touchdown after Herbert hit Everett. That would have been a tight game right there, 13-13. Then they missed that field goal uh, with
Yeah.
um, with 3 minutes left, and then you could have had a chance to win the game. But just one of those things where it didn't come into fruition. The turnovers were a huge part. The offense it was really a mess.
And it's like you talked about, like Staley took a lot of heat last week for the defense and stuff like that in a close game. I think this week you got to give that defense a little bit more credit because it wasn't pretty, it wasn't sexy. Obviously, on the stat sheet, everybody likes numbers, but they did what they needed to do and hold up the points and stop them from scoring. You know, given how many turnovers they had and the field position with those turnovers half the time, they're lucky it wasn't, a 2 or 3 touchdown game at some point. Like it
Yeah.
was close the whole time. They were giving them chances. But this has been the offense all season, in my opinion. Very topsy turvy, up and down, especially the offensive line play. You can't get the run game going. Herbert doesn't feel comfortable in the pocket, and that's what's going to happen. You're going to rush passes. One thing I will say, I know this is kind of like trying to find the silver lining. I kind of liked Leonard in there over Michael Davis. By the way, did you notice he didn't get any defensive snaps? I was talking to who I was
Yeah.
with, and I was like, I don't blame him for not giving him any snaps. Like you saw last week, his tackling, and any coach is going to be pissed off by that. You got to sit him at that point. And the silver lining for me was like, yes, they were picking on Leonard and everything else, and he did give up a touchdown. But, I like that the guy could tackle. I thought he was a pretty good tackler tonight. Obviously, got beat a few times and stuff like that. But the yaks is always what kills defenses, dude. Yards after catch. At least, if they got it on him, for the most part, he was going to tackle him. He had a few bad ones, but, that was kind of a bright spot. We'll see what they do
Well,
moving
yeah,
forward.
he benched he benched Michael Davis. I don't think Marlowe played all that much either. So there were
Yeah, yeah.
he made some
Some new
movements around
faces.
there.
Yeah, some new
Yeah,
faces out there.
um, but
The
I
other
mean,
thing was
we'll
too. The other thing was too. Like we've talked about, the X factor I chose for this week was going to be the surrounding cast, right? And I don't think besides Everett, I can't really think of one that stepped up that much. Like Everett came up clutching a few big plays and scored a touchdown. Keenan obviously did his thing, had the fumble though. Eckler got some touches and did some stuff, but in my mind, like I don't know what you think, Brown, but I feel like Eckler's kind of taking a step back from last year or the past 2 years to this year. And I understand it's hard to sustain, especially as a running back. But I mean, like, I felt like today there were some plays where I'm like, last year they wouldn't have caught him or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. He's just running a little bit slower and stuff like that. Like, he just hasn't looked the same to me. And especially if the guy's asking for like 14 mil and stuff like that, and it's a contract year, it's making it a little bit tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not looking good. It's like it's a tale of two tapes every week. Either one side of the ball does well and the other one's atrocious, or it's the reverse. So they just have not been able to find consistency since the start of the season.
um, let me ask you real quick, and I know obviously we're more based on the Chargers, but what do you think of Zay Flowers'
Oh, he
celebration?
did the Ronaldo? What did he do the Ronaldo for
Yeah,
the last one?
yeah. So he scored the touchdown and he kicked a
Oh, you
penalty
gotta
kick,
respect that. You
and
gotta respect that. He's the GOAT.
Lamar Jackson called it ass.
That's
He's like, I did
hilarious.
not like his celebration, but he went to. Let me ask you. Um, I thought I'm kind of if I know they're going into the bye week, that's going to help with OBJ whatever he's going on, but I
Yeah.
think the Ravens kind of need to take a step back a little bit and see what their offense is. I mean, they're 9-3,
100%.
they're a good football
Yeah.
team,
They're doing what they
but you
need
need
to do
to
to win.
yeah, exactly, and that's what. And I went into the locker room and I asked Kyle Van Noy about that, and he said that it was a good sequence by them. That he thought it was a good game. It was ugly, but that's how you sometimes have to win games. So I was pretty
Yeah.
impressed by their the game that the Ravens played. Because I mean it's one of those gritty games. You know how that goes.
Yeah. 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 But in terms of that, I got a lot of flack this week for everybody saying Lamar's a pocket passer, this and that and that, which, by the way, if I say he likes to run, there's obviously designed runs in the offense also, which is going to help him out and make it better. There's my guy. Hilberto. I bet he's having a good time. The curse. That's why they lost
He
today,
said
because
you're
his
having
ass
a
is
good
there.
time.
Why?
Not because you're here. They won.
Oh no, I was critical. Telling the Ravens passing game was pretty bad.
He
Yeah,
said the
those
Ravens
are
passing game was not good.
perfect. So let him know what I say about this. I wasn't impressed.
He said he wasn't
Everyone gave me
impressed
flack. I
with
wasn't
Lamar
impressed with
Jackson.
Lamar Jackson, the
wasn't either.
passer.
Like I told
You know what I'm saying? Like,
He said
there
neither
was
was
one
he.
offensive. I know, I heard him. There was one offensive sequence. He gets 40 yards. All it is check down, slant, check down, slant. They're
Check
just
down
giving him
slant, check down
everything.
slant.
Check down Charlie
Yeah.
is his nickname. Lamar Check down Charlie Jackson, dude. I was not a fan of it. I don't know. Like, I understand Staley's not trying to get beat deep. Staley's not trying to get beat deep with obviously they have explosive players and everything else. But it's like, come on, dude. You can't give them first downs every pass play just because no one's there. If no one was in 10 yards of half of these guys sometimes. And, of course, the 10-yard
But
cushion doesn't help. But
against the good teams, you know it, I know it. It's going to take more than just Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert to beat these teams and score
that's what
points.
we've been saying, yeah. You can't run the football. You can only rely essentially on one receiver because you know what's going to happen also to your young quarterback? He's going to start, locking in on his security blanket. He's not going to be able to trust guys. He might not want to throw it in tight windows and stuff like that. Then the other thing was, like we've talked about.
By the way,
been a
real quick,
problem.
his pocket presence.
Oh yeah,
He
he's a
was able
dog.
to step up and do
Yeah,
like
he's a dog.
it was
There
great.
was
Like
only-
tonight,
yeah.
he was getting like there was a lot
Yeah.
around him.
Yeah, yeah. But that's what we've talked about. Like I haven't been a fan of Sawyer the guard. I was more of a fan of Sawyer the left tackle last year. So what they do with that's going to be interesting. And maybe again, I'll give them a little more leeway because it's a new position, it's tough, and everything else is a lot different. But in my mind, again, they're not getting enough push in the run game. I think they're not physical in the pass game, which, to contrary to everyone's belief, you can be physical in your pass pro and everything else. But what I was going to go back to, a huge problem right now, in my opinion, is the fact that Kellen Moore can't figure out a way to get Quentin Johnson more involved because either it's coming down to the player where, you know, clearly he's struggling. So clearly some questions are going to arise if he was the right guy and stuff like that. And again, we'll give you usually they give leeway because Mike Williams had a tough first year also. But I mean, this kind of feeling a year where the screws are starting to tighten, you're starting to feel the heat, and you need to make a playoff run. You got to be able to figure out on the fly. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to make
Yep.
adjustments and get him involved, and they haven't been able to do that. And it's like he got hurt, and then he just never came back in, I don't think. And it's like,
Oh, I think Staley said that they decided to bench him.
well, yeah. And, of course, that's not looking good either. Benching a first-round pick you expected to help you out. So I don't
When
know
Zay
what's going on
Flowers
there.
on the other side of the field making
Well,
plays.
that's the other thing. That's a PR nightmare right there. But it's like they got to – I know it's tough because I know everything's that we're saying is a lot easier said than done. But, I mean, if you're trying to really make a push and, potentially get another year or whatever it is, like you've got to make adjustments and you've got to figure this out because clearly what's going on is not good enough because of the 4-7 record.
By the way,
And
Kyle Hamilton's a dog.
oh yeah, we knew that guy was a dog. That's why I was joking with who I was with. I was like, what a waste. Like, why are they putting Kyle Hamilton on Jalen Guyton? Like, he's gonna lock him up easy. Like, he wasn't gonna do anything. And it's
Man,
like,
I was thinking, can you imagine if because he came out when last year?
yeah,
Last year you drafted Zion John. If he would have fell to the Chargers, him and Derwin James would have been an interesting
nasty. Yeah,
duo.
nasty.
Because
Nasty.
Kyle, it's funny. I remember everybody was bitching because I was in Notre Dame. Everybody was bitching about the 40 time,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I was like, dude, who cares? Like when he goes in there, it's gonna be his instincts that take over. And look at him, like the dude's a dog. Like he's all over the field. He's an absolute like monster.
Yeah.
Like the dude, and you could tell he's really taking that Raven mentality. And
That's
I was really
yeah.
impressed by him. And that defense is very impressive. I really the reason why I think I put the Chiefs and then maybe the Ravens after them is because of that defense. The defense is
Yeah.
what can win you games. And remember, they didn't even have Marlon Humphrey tonight. So
Yeah.
when they get Marlon Humphrey back, like it's gonna be a dangerous defense. So
Yeah.
I'm really impressed by them. I mean, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, like those guys are in one of those, Austin got tackled by both of them, and I was like, ooh, like I thought he was gonna come up like how
Oh
in
yeah.
Scooby
Yeah.
Doo or something when they get
Yeah.
crushed, and
Yeah.
I thought it
There
was
was a
gonna be
few of
something
those
like that.
hits. There was a few of those hits also on Herbert where I just held my breath, and I felt like the dad in I was gonna say Blue Mountain State Varsity Blues. Oh Lord, please don't do this to me. And I was like nervous and everything. But like that's what we've talked about, right? The Ravens franchise has an understanding of what they want to do. Just like, and again, continuity at the head coaching position also helps out a franchise like that in the sense that like the Baltimore Ravens, whether they're 8-3 or 3-8, they're going to be a physical defense. They're going to want to run the football, and physicality is like their brand of football. That's their name of the game. And it's like, what's the identity of this team now? On the flip side, the Chargers, what is the identity? I don't think they found it yet. I don't think they know what it is. Offensively, clearly they don't know what it is because, like I've talked about, dude, you can't run the football. You're becoming one-dimensional. I'm still not a fan of all these little screens that they do. Still not a fan of every time you put Darius Davis in, it's either for a sweep, a screen, or maybe a little reverse or whatever and stuff like that. Like in my mind, that's telegraphing everything. But it is what it is. I'm on this side, they're on that side. I get it, but
Dan, real quick, go ahead.
no, I
Finish
was
up.
gonna say,
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, just like every week, I felt like this past season, there's a lot more questions than answers after the game. So
By the way, let's go to Brandon Staley now and hear what he had to say real quick after the matchup.
Yeah, that was certainly the difference in the game, and it usually is in the NFL. And when you turn the ball over 3 times, you don't get any, then the chances of winning aren't very good. And especially when you're playing a team like Baltimore, it's going to be really tough. And we hung in there about as well as you could, turning it over like that, and one of them, in the red area. So just didn't play well enough, clean enough to win tonight.
How difficult is it for you, frustrating-wise? The defense played a pretty good game tonight for you guys, but offensively just wasn't the offensive team that we've seen from you guys tonight.
Yeah, we lost as a team tonight. In a game like that where it's low scoring, where it turns into a defensive game, you got to get one more stop, and that's what we needed to do at the end of the game, is just get one more stop, give Justin one more op, and we weren't able to do it. I thought our defense really competed tonight. I thought we were ready for the challenge, and I thought our guys really played at a high level for most of the game. But we didn't get it done as a team. We didn't go get the ball tonight, and that's what we needed to do on defense to win it. And offensively, we didn't take care enough of the ball to win tonight.
What kind of challenges did they present to you guys in terms of your pass protection, their pass rush? Felt like they were creating a significant amount of pressure.
Yeah, they've got a lot of known rushers. They've got DBs, linebackers who can rush. They've got interior pass rush, edge rush. So they're a very complete unit. And they played the way they played all season. So there weren't any surprises out there. We just didn't execute well enough tonight.
And the hit Justin on the sideline early, it looked like that was late. Did you get an explanation as to why that wasn't playing?
No comment.
Brandon, it looked like Quentin went to the medical tent and he just came out with the sideline for the rest of the game. Was that just your decision, or was he not healthy enough to go back in there?
Yeah, he had an issue with his ribs, and didn't go back in the game.
Was that your decision? Was he not healthy enough? I'm sorry, to go back in, or were you just?
It just didn't happen. He didn't go back in the game.
With the changes you made on defense tonight, were you comfortable with how those guys played? And Jalen was in there, and Dean was in there.
Yeah, I thought our guys played at a high level. That team had scored 30 points 5 or 6 games in a row, and we got 13 points there till the very end. So our guys played at a high level tonight. They were up for the challenge. We need to build off this. But again, when it becomes a defensive game, you got to get one more stop, and we didn't do that. So we played well, but it wasn't good enough. And, I think us turning the ball over tonight was the story on defense. We weren't able to get one that would get us the momentum and get us another possession. And that was the story.
Just to be clear with Quentin, this was a medical staff decision or a coach's decision?
Yeah, it wasn't that he couldn't go back in the game. It's just we didn't feel like, through the flow of the game with where he was, that it was the right thing to go back in the game.
And then just from your perspective, what happened there on the Zay touchdown at the end of the end round?
Yeah, we're just gonna, kind of get the ball back defense, and, they cut back on our guy, and we had, we knew that Lamar was going to be involved in the run game. We took away that aspect of it, and, just got beat man on man, on the cutback.
It's rough,
right
Dan. I mean,
oh my bad.
What?
I was going to say he was
No, go
smart
ahead.
right there to say no comment, because he knows his ass doesn't want to get fined for the NFL talking about officials.
Yeah, but I thought the Quentin Johnson stuff, man, I think it's really starting to kind of affect him. I mean, one catch for what was it? Like
5 or 6 yards. Yeah, it was a comeback, I think.
yeah, so I mean, it's just rough for him. I mean, you feel for him. I mean, the guy has done all this stuff, but it's just it's rough, and it seems like it was a coach's decision to not have him go back in. So just interesting that your first pick in the draft just it hasn't materialized with him this season. And I understand, like,
Yeah.
he was brought in to learn, maybe be a piece further down the line, but now it's like trial by fire. Like,
Yeah, because you
gotta
don't
be in there
expect
and-
them to play. You don't expect them to play with this wide receiver room. You have Mike,
Yeah.
you have Josh, you have Keenan, and who would be the next? I guess Jalen. Whenever he's had to experience.
Well, yeah,
but
but
what
it
I'm
was
saying?
going to be
Like,
Quinn. Yeah,
exactly. Like, he was going to be the one, getting a few reps, just getting his feet wet and everything else. And now he's had to step up. But this is what I've always talked about, right? When it comes to, roster moves and everything else. you got to prepare everyone to be the starter. You have to, because then you run into these things where, okay, now we can only go 2 tight ends because, maybe Quentin's not ready or Darius isn't ready and we got to limit their reps and everything else. Like, it limits you and what you can do, obviously, because these guys aren't the same level as Mike and Josh and everything else. They don't have the same amount of reps. But, that's why the people you draft, the people you're signing are so crucial, because these are the guys essentially you're signing your name off on to essentially ensure that you have further employment later in the year. And it's like again, I have been very vocal in the sense that, like, some of these guys are the same guys that got Anthony Lynn fired, so I don't understand how they've made it this long. But that's just one Stooge's opinion. It is what it is. I can be a freaking crazy or whatever else, but I just don't get some of these guys, and I think sometimes it shows when you're down guys that these guys haven't been able to step up. These guys haven't been able to step up. Like, Keenan, I'm sure, shouldered the burden with the most receptions. Then maybe it was Everett. I'm willing to guess the next person after those two might have had 2-3 catches maximum. I don't have the stats in front of me, but
It was
well, I guess
5 by Eckler,
besides
but
Eckler,
you're right.
Eckler, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, the thing about football, okay, and I know this is probably like, I'm not trying to talk down or anything else. The thing about football is that you need 11 guys to play as a single unit. This isn't like basketball where one guy can take over, and it's not like it's not like a lot of other sports. So it's like when you got guys who can't get separation or open on one-on-one matchups, it's going to limit a lot of what you can do. When you got guys who can't pass pro correctly and ensure that your quarterback doesn't get hit or pressured often, that's going to limit a lot of what you can do. Same with the run game. Like I've said every week for the past few, the message moving forward, I'm curious to know what that is, because I think some of the players might start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and I think it's going to be very tough to come out, because next week, New England, that's going to be a trap game. That's like the trap game bowl right there, because New England hasn't been playing well. The Chargers haven't been playing well. So what's going to go down next week, and especially if they lose to New England, who have 2 wins and haven't been able to put anything together, that's going to be everything you need to know in the writing on the wall right there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And like I said on COMPAS, I don't know if this team wins another game. I mean, it's just going to be very hard
Yeah.
with some of the games that they have coming up. But, I mean,
Yeah,
we'll see what
exactly.
happens. But
Because look at Denver's not the same that started the season. I would argue Oakland's looking better than the way they played them the first time.
Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah, Las Vegas. Sorry. Oh, here we go. Everybody's going to get excited. That guy said Oakland. Yeah, I said Oakland, whatever. Las Vegas doesn't look the same as the way they started and they played them the first time. So the Bills, obviously, I would still say a little bit better of a team. Obviously, Kansas City, who knows? That might be a throwaway.
Denver
game at that
twice.
point. That's what I said. Denver's not looking the same at all. They're looking
No.
fired up, motivated, and everything else.
They beat Cleveland today.
And that's what I'm saying. The number 1 defense, I think, too, they might have it. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's going to be a very tough, coming weeks. And it's like, how do you keep the guys motivated? How do you keep them interested? How do you keep them moving and everything else? Like, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because, it's just going to be interesting now.
You still have 2 games on prime time, so it's gonna be interesting.
Who do they have
to see
on
how
prime time? Oh, the Bills?
The Thursday night game against the Raiders, and then the Bills.
And the Bills, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez,
Yeah.
Jeez,
So
please, dude.
we'll see what happens, but we're gonna leave it there. Yeah, very interesting to see just the way this is kind of materialized for the Chargers the past few weeks. I mean, they've dropped 3 in a row now, 4-7, and
the playoff hopes window.
I mean,
dude.
what are they? So if they won out, they'd be 10-7. But I just see that as very, very tough, especially without reinforcements. But I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, I have to start driving back down to San Diego, obviously. But we appreciate you guys so much for jumping on this week. We will have the preview, so make sure you guys tune in. We will have that ready to go. And again, thank you guys so much for jumping on and listening. But yeah, Chargers lose 20-10. They're 4-7, and we'll see what happens the rest of the way. But we will have your Patriots preview later this week. But again, thank you guys so much. Have a good one. And again,
Be a
thank you guys so
compa,
much for
tell a
tuning in.
compa.
Like, comment, subscribe. Be a compa, tell a compa. Thank you guys so much.